Well, welcome to What the Thursdays. It's Thursday, so you know we're going to be talking.
It's kind of standard thing.
Thursdays. Let's go. So today we're talking about catfishing, and I feel like catfishing has like a super negative connotation, but we want to just talk about like online relationships and what that means in society today.
Yeah.
So just to get us started.
Before that, can you define catfishing?
Thank you. Yeah, I can.
Just so we're all on the same page
yeah,
of what we're talking about.
Definitely. So catfishing is when someone is in a relationship online and they meet someone online, and one of the people within that relationship is not the person that they are presenting as. They're posting photos of someone that is not themselves. Maybe they're going by a name that is not their own.
Yeah.
It's kind of this idea of the where it comes from is when you're fishing and you feel like you feel this really strong pull on your fishing line and you reel it in, and then you pull it up and you have a catfish, and catfish are known to be like kind of gross fish. They're bottom feeders. Yeah. So it's like, oh, I got this big
I didn't know that's
thing,
where it came from.
and like you're super excited, and then the fish comes up and you're like, oh,
It's not what I
it's
expected.
a catfish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
So
love
that's kind of-
catfish.
I love catfish too. I think they're super tasty, so I don't know why people don't like them.
Okay.
But yeah, now that we know what catfishing
Yes.
is, so when I was kind of preparing for a conversation, when I was reading, a theme that came up a lot was a need for connection in the digital age. So how do you think online dating apps can change how we go about forming connection in our relationships?
I feel like when I read that question you sent me, I thought about how it kind of comes in between and can become a dependency. Like I understand that now the world is so much more connected, so I feel like we use social media to connect to people and that's just the norm, but say if this is what some kids grow up with, then will at one point they just interact through, technology and then not know how to do it without it. And I've never had a dating profile on an app, and I feel like I still didn't know how to talk to people, so that might make it even harder, if you have that barrier between people.
Yeah.
So that was my kind of take on it of will we ever become dependent on it, and that kind of idea.
I think it's really positive because, when I think about the fact that I've lived in, 5 states within, 10-year span in my life, I'm I get to stay connected with my friends and my family. And, seeing my cousins grow up that I probably wouldn't see otherwise, right? Thinking about old school, sending pictures and Polaroids and,
Yeah.
Just going really bad if there's, a storm or something and it's, ruined. So it lives forever. And I think there's some positive things in that. I did have a dating profile back in the day. But again, like you said, we weren't relying on it as much because, meeting people in person is still the most authentic because you can see their true self. If they're not looking at you in the eye or they're not being forthcoming or they seem like they're skating over your question, you can really get to know someone
Through interaction.
face to face. And you would hope that if it's via online, that it's through Skype or FaceTime or something like that. I think when you start to whittle it down to just being text message, I think you still fall in love or develop meaningful relationships, but how much are you able to get some of those things, especially if it's a new relationship. And I think sometimes naturally that connection starts to look different. And again, if we're depending on just that, how meaningful are they when you know that there are people who are dishonest? And I think we're able to be someone that we want to be virtually. And I think that's empowering, but also can be harmful.
Because it just glosses over everything else other than the pristine part.
And you're learning to love and cultivate this person that you're trying to create, and you aren't that person. And I think just with the shows that I watch so frequently, that you see how hurt they are once they get found out.
Catfish.
The Catfish show. Oh.
Yeah, so you see how hurt they are because
they had their hopes.
I'm your best friend and I'm in love with you, but I don't know how to tell you, and I don't even know if you like someone who looks like me, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's good things in being, told no. I think it makes you you grow from that. If someone's always telling you yes and always telling you how great you are, how much can you really grow as an individual? I just think that there's some there needs to be some balance.
Yeah, I think something that like I've noticed a lot. Like I've watched a lot of Catfish. I really enjoy it. Like
I like how we're both like, watch Catfish.
it's a great show. I love Neve. They actually filmed an episode in Iowa City like a few months back.
There's a lot of Iowa people.
Uh-huh.
What?
Yes.
It's crazy. It's crazy. They literally said Des Moines, Iowa, and I was like, look at the street.
But so I was like in the episodes that I watch, and I definitely binge watch it. Like, not lying. I have noticed a lot that like the people who are doing the catfishing, like the catfishers. Sorry, there's like noises. I got distracted. But so like the catfishers, oftentimes like they'll talk about how like, you know, I don't think people are gonna accept me for who I am, so I made this personality, to live a life that I felt fulfilled in, or a life that I knew someone loved me for, and so I think it's really sad that people. I don't know. I don't want to like generalize because that's not going to help anyone. But I think sometimes people are creating their own freedom and creating their own power by making these personalities online, by making these profiles that they get to control what they look like. They get to control how people perceive them as much as possible.
And these shows set a narrative, right? And the narrative is that people are getting played by LGBT folks.
Yeah.
I think that's the narrative that I get from these shows.
You can see it a lot. You see people who are pre-transition will...
that are not out to their families or their friends.
Oh, yeah.
Or they are, but they haven't been accepted.
So they make the profile of, like, who they're becoming.
Yes.
Their ideal. Okay.
And I hate it because, like, it's just perpetuating this... They're out to get all of the straight people, right? Like I hate that's what it is,
God.
right?
Yeah.
But in truth, it shows that they aren't safe to be who they are and to go through love as freely as cis straight people, right? Like I, as a cis straight woman, I can hold the hand of my partner. I can kiss them in public, and no one's like, well, other than PDA being gross, right? Like, I don't think people are going to question me, where someone will make a lot of comments, and there's danger in being an LGBT person out in public. As much as people think 2019 we're safe, but I that's the one thing I hate about these shows is that it sets this agenda, and I don't know if that's on purpose, but that's the reality of the people who they are. That's the drama that we love so much is, ooh, I wonder who they are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and it's kind of like watching, it's the way MTV does Catfish, it's like setting up watching a car wreck.
Yeah.
You know, it's like these people...
You know it's going to end in a car wreck.
You know it's
like
gonna end bad. You know that the people involved in this are sad, or not just sad, but just that there's something unfulfilling in their lives, and we get joy out of watching it. Like, and that's like, I will probably still go home and watch Catfish. Like, I'm gonna be honest, but it's a problematic concept. It's a problematic thing to profit off of telling the stories or the narratives of people who are catfishing others or people who are being catfished.
Yeah. So if we scale it back a little bit and we think about like where this starts and like maybe like some kind of like I don't want to say steps, but like actions that can lead up to that. I think a lot about like, you know, how social media is kind of like, or dating profiles, you know, you think like, oh, I think this will like help me find the person, you know, I'm most compatible with, because you just put all your likes and all your characteristics and things you want to, like, your hobbies and, like,
Your
long walks on the beach,
Yeah.
And then,
Your filters.
right? And then you hope to meet somebody who's just very similar to you or very, compliments you, and then you're like, okay, it's done. And it makes it simple and easy, and it's like, that's not how it usually works, you know? Like, you meet a person, you go through the ups and downs of, like, oh, I really like you, I really don't like you. Like, we work, we don't work, you know? Not the whole, like, oh, we matched, we're perfect now.
Yeah.
Like, that's an expectation, I think, that, like, dating profiles set because you put all these parameters in and you're, like, filter people out kind of thing. Or with the swipe right, left, up, down.
Or they make, like,
feel like I'm
swipe
40.
right and left. You're fine.
Right? I'm like, I don't know what the way to swipe.
But, like,
I really don't.
I think another thing is, I think they've taken it off of Tinder. It used to be Tinder, on Tinder, if you had a match, it would say, oh, you matched, do you want to keep playing? So, like, the idea that
Playing
you're
what?
playing the swiping game.
Oh, fascinating.
That, like,
Interesting.
it's just...
So you're not just swiping,
It's trying
like,
to
oh,
create monogamy. Like, you think
Yeah.
about it, like, it's trying to, I mean, if Like, if it's asking me to stop playing the way that it's designed,
Do
because
I want to have
the
that conversation with this person I've matched
Yeah.
with, or do I want to keep playing the field?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like automatic commitment out of nowhere.
Yeah.
When I think we're
Which-
a little afraid of commitment.
And I think
Yeah.
so. Something that a friend of mine named like Tinder relationships. She named them situationships
I've heard of that.
because she probably didn't come up with that term.
Yeah, but you heard
that's
it.
the creator. That's who I heard it from. Was a friend of mine, and it's this idea that we swipe through these, and I'm saying the grand we because I know both of you are in like healthy relationships. But the grand we being me, I swipe through the Tinder, and I literally have not once messaged someone on Tinder or on like a dating app. I just like swiping.
Really?
That's it. Yeah, I don't.
You're
because
like categorized.
I don't think I could actually and I think part of it is because of the stories about catfish that are out there. Like I don't think I am
Scary.
going to find.
You don't trust it?
I don't trust it. I don't want to ever meet any person I swipe on online. I want to meet a person in person.
That's just dangerous.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's dangerous for anybody, but like
It's a whole different
dangerous.
conversation.
And it goes back to why are we on these apps,
Mhm.
right? I think because, like, for example, we live in a very rural place. There's only so many people
You interact with.
How many? Just hypothetically, I'm gendering, but like, how many women to men are there, right? And then you whittle that down of like, oh, they dated my friend, so they're out, right? So it's just you start to not have a group of anybody. So, like, I met my husband. And we met like in person, but a lot of our relationship was virtual. He lived in Pennsylvania and I lived in Las Vegas.
Huh.
And so like
How long was that
granted,
for?
that was like 4 years.
What?
So we met in person for one day,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we had lunch, and after that it was phone calls and FaceTimes and dating. It's
Yeah.
a long story, y'all.
Yeah.
But it goes back to why are we doing that? So for
Yeah.
you, it's a fun.
It's fun.
It's experimental.
Yeah.
You're curious. I think if you go to a larger place, to
Just
live,
judge the
it
people.
might be different. 'Cause
Yeah,
then
no.
it's a wider net.
Yeah.
And for some people who use it, I always say, like, what are you using it for?
Mhm.
Like, why are you on there? How are you portraying yourself? It's the way that you perceive yourself in person. What are you looking for? And I think that goes for any relationship, virtual or not,
Mhm.
right? Like, what are you looking for?
Mhm.
And we don't ever know what we
Never do.
want because we don't know who we are,
Yeah.
right? And I think sometimes we're trying to find ourselves in other people. I hate those poems that like, you made me a better person. No, you just made me a better person for that moment, and I went back to being trash. So I'm just like, you weren't consistently that way, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just like, you shouldn't. That's what it says. Oh, you're my better half. I always question people like, why are they your half? Why aren't you your whole? Or
Mhm.
you're working towards a whole self
Mhm.
and being two different people. I love Will Smith and Jada Pickett's
Yeah.
the idea of relationships is that they are two separate people deciding to walk life together. When you start to think of it that way, everything makes sense. But
Mm-hmm.
going back to the virtual, how do you get from that from here?
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's what's hard.
Yeah.
And,
Mhm.
there's so many people I know that met over DM. Like, I know people who met over DM and they're married. Like, and it works.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on how that person is approaching you.
Yeah.
And there's no one clear-cut way. But
Yeah.
for that, like, what do you all think are safety measures for people if they are deciding to take that route of building
Yeah.
a relationship online?
I think, this is coming from me, the person who refuses to send people messages.
You're like, I just have the app open.
I just have the app. It's just
Just
there.
do that.
No, I think if I were to have a conversation with someone, like if I were to be having that conversation, I would keep it within the app for a while until I feel like I trust them. I don't want to be giving my cell phone number out
Yeah.
willy-nilly. I don't want to be giving out my Snap code. Like, those are things that I want to make sure that I have the control of when I give those out. Because, I could be talking with someone, texting with them for like an hour or two and really be vibing and really like them.
Yeah.
But then maybe, I get busy, I ghost them for a little bit and they send me a lot of messages and I get the, I didn't expect that. I had to take a break because life got busy because I'm a busy person.
Right.
And sometimes I drop everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so if that reaction is something, if I had given them my cell phone number and then they had called me,
It
Like-
would have been worse.
it's different. So it's something that
Because you can delete the app from your phone, but your phone number stays your phone number.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think to add to that, these locator situations on your phone, or
Ooh,
it's
location.
so, and I think for some of the apps they do it based off of radius,
Yeah.
right? And just even here, you can just assume everybody is connected to Iowa State in some capacity.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so people being able to find you, and I mean, I have to
Ooh,
Google
I didn't
myself
think
a
of
lot.
that.
I
Oh my
know.
God.
And you have to Google yourself because
Uh-huh.
like someone can readily find my address online, like
Mhm.
right
Yeah.
now. They don't have to pay for anything, and that's scary because I'm just like, you know, if I wasn't married and I was in this dating pool, again, happy Single Awareness Day. But that's what I used to call it. But people can find out where you live
Mhm.
so easily, and so if you're using this app, you know, making sure your stuff is privatized, like you said, doing it to
Location.
your feeling comfortable. Like if you're doing video chat, like not having distinguishing marks, like, oh, I can tell that ambulance just drove past your house because it drove past mine, right? Like,
Mhm.
it's just little stuff like that that creates. And I watch Criminal Minds, and I may be a little paranoid, but it's scary that people
Yeah.
can start picking.
I was gonna
that
say
up
that you sound like my friends who
from
watch
you.
criminal shows because I never watch
It's-
those.
but it's
Whenever I
the
talk to them, I'm like,
reality. It's crazy
Yeah.
the length people go
Yeah.
to, especially if they get ghosted and they get upset that you didn't follow through on something. Like,
Mhm.
ask them how far are we, like where are we, and what is your expectation of
Yeah.
me? And asking that, and if you don't agree right then and there, be like, oh no, that's not where I was
Mhm.
going.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we're friends right now, and this is where I want to live in
Yeah.
until we feel more comfortable
Yeah.
together. And asking that, and not being like, oh, you know how we love sexting. That is, you know, oh, what are you gonna do if I do this? Well, make me. I've been through that. This not conversation that
Yeah.
leads to good places
Mhm.
all the time. So.
And I think another thing that goes along with that is if you are setting expectations of like, you know, you start a conversation like, oh, what are you
Person
looking
needs to
for
know.
in this?
Yeah.
And a person says something that you're not looking for, don't think you can change what they're looking
Listen.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah, I feel like definitely like what you said about like sharing your phone, just saying I'm not ready to share my phone yet if they do ask for it, and then
Mhm.
seeing their reaction of like,
for. That can
oh,
create-
okay, bye, or okay, yeah, we can keep talking some more and
Yeah.
get to know, like, what do you want to know about me, you know, and then you know, because I think about it and I'm like, is this person just trying to like get with me or like get to know me? And then
Mhm.
like that makes a huge difference in terms of like, do you want to keep talking to them? And then if they if they keep talking to you and don't ask you for your phone number anymore, you're like, okay, they want to talk to me still, you
Mhm.
know, and they would respect my boundaries
Yep.
and still talk to me because that's what they want, you know.
Mhm.
And here's the other thing with that is do not set up what is it called, like I'm gonna try this and see how they respond type thing.
Don't play games with
Don't
them.
play games either. So that's not what she's saying.
No, I
But-
meant of like yeah, setting
if
an
you
actual
truly aren't
boundary.
comfortable.
Right,
And
that
then
you
seeing- yeah.
actually want.
Yeah.
Don't like, oh, they respect me. Oh, it's so cute. And
No,
great.
no,
Like, that's
not like
a thing.
putting it up and then picking it up back up and being like,
Right.
okay, no, it's fine now. But like actually setting a boundary, you know, and
Mhm.
that'll tell you something about the person, and you get your
And they
boundary.
respect
Yes.
you.
Thank you
Yes.
for clarifying that.
Yeah,
because I didn't.
because I feel people will take that so many different ways.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I can see if they respect me if I do this.
Yeah. I think another piece is, you kind of talked about it with your relationship of that you had met in person, then you continued to stay in touch
Yeah.
online. But like, if say you meet someone online and you choose to meet them in person, how can you go about that in a way that is going to be not putting you at risk? I don't know. How
Bring a
to-
friend.
Yeah. You could.
Well, like
Mhm.
obviously not have them at the table with you, but maybe like drop you off or stay there until you like
Mhm.
are like
That's
okay.
smart.
Like maybe like, oh hey, will you
Yeah.
come with me to the mall and I'll meet this guy, and then you just stay in the corner
and
until
I'll
I
give you
the
a thumbs up
Yeah.
that it's okay to
Mhm.
leave.
Or
Mhm.
or like stay in the perimeter, like stay in the mall and not just somewhere else, you know.
Yeah.
Like
So
I
going
would,
somewhere public.
yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that for a friend if they asked me, you know.
Oh, no,
And
Also,
not at all.
like,
I'm an
tell
arm's
the-
reach away.
Yeah, and then like if you're going to dinner, I would tell the waiter, hey, I'm meeting someone I met online, so that they could also just be aware of
Yeah.
your own responses to things if you don't feel comfortable saying, hey,
Mhm.
something's off and something's wrong, right?
Yeah.
And I think the reverse of that is don't go to these situations and expect something out of it. You should
Mhm.
not expect someone to be sexually active with you when you first meet them. if that's what you're expecting, then you need to say that before you leave.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm looking
Setting
for a
expectations.
nightcap after dinner. Is that something you're interested in? The
Mhm.
person's like, hey, sure, or no, but I still want to meet. And if that's something you want to do, don't again try and change them. Like, I think sometimes people walk into things and they're like, well, this is how it's supposed to happen. No, that was a rom-com. And we talked about that last week, right? That's a rom-com. That's
Yeah.
not real. And then, like, no one always has to do certain things because of just meeting in person.
Yeah.
Again, expectations that are not communicated. It's
Yeah.
wild. People come up with these things in their head that they feel have worked, and they've worked. And I always been like, could you show me to the person that this worked for? So I could talk to them, because, like, they done messed you up, and
Yeah.
they done got me messed up. So it's hard.
Yeah.
It's not, like, that's not appropriate either. So both have to be adults about the situation.
Yeah.
And be openly communicating about what they're wanting.
Mhm.
It's bring in consent in that, but like just like you said, boundaries. I'm just looking for a friend, or hey, I'm dating to marry. Like, some people don't even talk about that.
That's so true.
Like,
I never
I'm
thought about
dating
that.
to marry, and I'm not saying like within 2 years you gotta propose, but like this is where I'm
Long
expecting
term, yeah.
to head. And I had that change. I had to make that change when I was 24. I was like, okay, well, enough with this nonsense. Like, I am dating to marry. And when I would tell
Yeah.
guys that, they were like, I'll see you later. I'm like, great.
Have
so
a nice
you're not
day.
wasting my time.
Bye.
And I wasn't offended. I was like, thank you for not wasting my time.
Because you imagine like 3 years into a relationship and then being like,
Man. And
Mhm.
being, again,
27.
trash.
Yeah.
Right. And 35.
starting over again.
Listen. Nope, not doing that.
Yeah.
Nope. Any other things that
No,
you
I
can
think
think
those
of?
are very good points and very good advice.
Yeah, use your friends for sure.
Use your friends.
Use that.
Ask your friends for help, not use your friend.
Yeah, like, ask your friends.
Yeah.
I feel like I gotta be very specific with you all. Yes, ask your friends for help.
Yeah.
Friends are great.
Yeah.
So do you all think that there are differences between in like how people interact in online versus how they interact in person?
Oh my god,
And, like,
yeah.
when
Oh,
you're
yeah.
I am way
So-
more extra online.
Really? I was gonna say, the comments I read in, like, online, I'm like, people would never say this to your face.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, what?
It's freedom. It's freedom.
It's that lack of seeing the
No
nonverbals
filter.
and the
Yeah, and it's like no repercussions either. You can like text it, send it, turn off your
And
computer.
memes help with that too. Memes carry so much context.
and gifts.
And gifts too.
True.
So much context.
Yeah. I feel like when I send memes in group chats, like that's like actually how I feel like I would react, but like I don't react that way.
Uh-huh.
But like I feel that way inside, so I feel like I can express that. But like
Yeah.
in a good way, yes, I don't act differently. I do act differently. If it were in a bad way, I don't act differently. Like anything I do say online, I would say in person, if that makes sense. Like I never try to say something that like I'm only doing this online because I can't say this in person, or
Yeah.
I'm afraid, or I feel like this would be bad, so I'm just gonna hide behind a screen.
Yeah, so kind of like when you're being critical or like, you know,
Yeah.
the age-old Facebook politics rant that
Oh
people
my God.
post on, like,
Oh my God.
you're saying, like, for you would only post something you would feel comfortable saying to
Yeah.
that person's face.
100%. I never. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like you can be more bold.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also feel there are moments where I definitely police myself a lot of like, I want to say this, or I want to act this way, or I want to express myself in this way, but like, how would that person take me?
Yeah.
And is it time to show them that? I
Mhm.
remember it taking a long time. Like, I hid my crazy. Like, I hid my crazy from my husband for a long time until we moved
After you're
in.
married?
No, we moved in and then we got married.
Okay.
But he was just like, I didn't know that you. I'm like, because I didn't want, because you wouldn't have married me if you knew all this was going on. And again, it's hiding stuff, right? And I'm not supporting it, but I understand that it can happen.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly, do as I say, not as I do. But it's just like I hid some of that, and it wasn't hiding it to, again, assume like I get dropped or he wouldn't want me. But it's just, again, it adds another layer of vulnerability. And is someone ready to show that, and are they ready to receive it? And so I think we had to do a lot of catching up because he was kind of my first love outside of high school. So there was a gap of time that I wasn't that connected to someone other than virtual. Like, I was like kicking it with people online. Like, I had a dude in Tennessee one time, and you know, just for like a few weeks. But I didn't have to be myself with him. It was just kind of like, I feel like it get really baby, like, hey, like, babe, what are you doing? You know, I feel very, like, way more passive than I am in, y'all know me, I'm just blah, right? I'm very passive online. But yeah, I think you get to be someone that you think would be loved more in a way, especially if it's a romantic situation. Because, you know, you tell each other what you like, and you're like, ooh, I gotta make sure to do that later. Right? But you keep in the back of your mind that they would like that.
Yeah. Another piece, I think, is, like, how you have so much more time in your interactions online. Like,
it's in the palm of your hand.
It's
like
you can
right
think
there.
through it, and I know when I like right now I'm in an interview process for like a job for the summer. Don't worry, I'm not leaving.
Oh,
But you're graduating, don't you?
Oh yeah, you're leaving. Never mind. So like I'm like waiting and hearing back, and I'm like getting these emails from people who could potentially offer me an internship, and I'm like, oh, they signed off talk soon, so that means they're gonna call me next week and tell me that I have a job, and so like
and your friends co-sign that crap too.
And then they're like, yeah, you're right.
You're great.
But like, there's no context. I can't see this person's face. Like, so I am just like this is the only communication I have, and I know this isn't like relationship building, but this is the only communication I have with these people.
Yeah.
And so I am reading into everything.
And just be conscious about like having zodiac signs. Oh, how many times have you like researched is your zodiac sign match? Or what are your baby's names? Like everything.
Yes. Oh
Everybody
yeah.
knows
When I meet someone new, I'm just like, when's your birthday? Okay, what does Pisces match with this? Like, I can't deal with Scorpios. No, thank you. I'm kidding. No, I make good friends with Scorpios.
We are
but
amazing. We're universal.
Not a good good love relationship with Scorpios.
Again, we're great.
Yeah, but
like that was such a tangent.
But like you can when you're online. You're not responding in real time.
Yeah.
You can delete stuff. You can be like, oh, was that funny? You can talk to your friends and be like, hey, so he said this, or should this person say this? Like, what can I respond? Does that sound funny?
Yeah.
Does that, like...
And that can impact your future, right? So I tell people, like, be conscious of how many people you invite in your relationship. So say at this point that you may be long distance, or you're in a monogamous, healthy... This is what we're doing, everybody's on the same page. But then, like, you invited your friends into your relationship early in the moment, and then all of a sudden you drop them and you were just you all, right? It harms your external relationships at that point. And so it's kind of finding that balance of feeling comfortable with who you're having around you, who is giving you the advice. Because I remember when I first started dating my husband, like, people were talking so much crap. Oh, it won't last. You all are in the same state. You're in completely different time zones. These same people once get invited to my wedding, and they weren't. But I'm just like, you know, you got to be careful about. You just have to also be careful about who is around you too, because like if you're invested and you feel like this is really good, like your friends, your family can definitely harm. It's like for the same thing of like, if your partner does something, you go run to your mom. And you're like, yeah, they did this and this was awful, blah, blah, blah. But you forgive them. Oh, your mom ain't going to forgive them.
And so it goes with friends,
so
too.
Real, the same thing. Because they love you.
Yeah, and they want what's
best
for you.
To the other person.
And so even with online relationships, it's another layer of things that you have to take into account that can harm or help your relationship. And you have to be clear about you. And what you want. And I just tell people that, what do you want? Do you want just situationships? Do you want relationships? Do you want buddies that, you know, you can dial up on Thursday nights to Netflix and chill? Whatever y'all talk about, right? Like,
whatever kids do.
Whatever the new phrase is.
Be clear about what you are looking for, and you won't end up in a situation to where now you gotta... Oh snap, I gotta make sure everybody good.
Yeah.
And everybody hates me and I'm just gonna be a avoided person. Like, it just be honest about what you want. I would respect someone if they're like, hey, me and you ain't together. I'm seeing other people. you can see other people. But half the time when I talk to some people, they're like, yeah, I see other people, but they can't see other people. Is that reasonable?
No.
Is that reasonable? And they're like, I know it's not reasonable, which again proves people know how they're harming other people. It's again more about you and like you're wanting to get what you get out of it. And so if that person is showing you that they're more worried about them and what they want to get out of it, I think you have to be mindful.
Yeah.
And it's harder to do that online because they're going to tell you what you want to hear most of the time. You're only going to talk about trivial things.
Yeah, and it's only going to, like, be, like, it's only going to come up when it's, like, worrisome because
When
you're in
it's a
person or you're
problem.
actually seeing each other in person
And it's
now. And then
reactionary. It's always
Yeah.
reactionary. Oh, you didn't answer on time, so that must mean that you were blah blah blah.
reading into it and all that stuff.
And
Oh
it just
my God.
becomes a problem.
Yeah.
And so talk about this stuff up front. Again, what do you want? And be willing to be flexible. There were some things that I wanted early in our relationship that I care nothing about right now. It has nothing to do with marriage. Like, it literally was like, I was insecure about a lot of things because I had a context of my parents. My parents made an idea of what love looked like, and I hated it. But it was like, okay, I'm trying to avoid everything that looked like this. So anything that was connected, I was like, okay, I'm not doing this, so you need to do this for me, and you need. It was just a train wreck. And so then I'm inviting someone else into my train wreck and expecting them to figure that out. And again, it goes back to if someone's saying, like, you make me a better person, I can't live without you, or you make me whole, or blah, blah. It's just like, again, those are warning signs, those are red flags of what truly are they expecting of you, and have you talked about it? I would say to you, like, do you know your partner? Like, you know of them, and you know them what they show you, but do you know your partner?
Because we can curate our online presence.
Yes, exactly. And that's how you end up with catfish. Now, those were like trivial relationships, but a lot of them, they were deep 4, 3, 6 years.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of them were deep
Online?
in.
There
Yes.
was one that I watched where she was supporting the other person. The person who was catfishing her, she had sent her money because she was a
Pretend
surrogate
children.
mom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that one. Pretend children. There was one that moved in and brought her mom and her kid, and they were like, I didn't know that these other people come with you. Like,
Yeah.
who are these people? And again, it's like, you need to ask questions. Like, yes, everyone loves to feel good and connected and supported and valued. Those are the core contents of humanity. But then somewhere along the lines, you need to be open and honest about, okay, what really is going on?
Yeah.
Like, if you have a child, you need to be honest with yourself. Am I going to date someone with a child? Am I going to marry someone with a child? What does it mean to be a step-parent? Because, like, you are that parent, regardless, right? It's just all of that needs to be considered. It doesn't need to be this, well, it's not really mine, or it's not really my responsibility. Whatever that, just fill in the blank. It could be pet, child,
Yeah.
Just
debt.
knowing if that's something that you're not okay with, communicate that.
And those can be easily, like, hidden through this digital, like, screen of whatever.
And
then
see.
I feel like in person it's not as hard because, like, it's harder because it's hard to hide. I mean, you don't usually talk about your debt to people on a day-to-day basis. But
Oh, I need to know your credit score. Just saying. Here's what we're not doing.
so then, like, when you, like, meet somebody in person, you don't talk about these things, but, like, still you can tell with their mannerisms and with their behavior, like, all these small signs that you can't see online. So, like, you just have to be careful and then communicate and then understand what you want and what they want and then move forward, communicate again, and then move forward and then communicate again.
Exactly.
And repeat
Until you can back on the communication.
Until you can be in person. Because I feel like you can make a connection online, but the real connection happens in person. So, like, I understand where, like, you guys had a time apart, but you had a person connection. And I'm pretty sure you met up in between those times, right?
We did.
So you had those that to
7
keep
times
it
a year.
going, you know? Oh, you had a set time. That's nice.
Yeah.
So you, like, kept it going because you had that personal connection, you know? And when you just don't for 4 years, like, where's the personal connection? You might as well be talking to Siri.
It's hard, and what's interesting is that if you have an online relationship and you're living alone, it's like you're single, but you're committed.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other mindset that makes you feel so
Different.
many different feelings and
Wow.
emotions. Because, like, a lot of my friends started being people who were married or in committed relationships, but I was always a third wheel.
But
I was always talking
yeah.
about my partner, and I wasn't. So it's just like I had to. So then I had friends who were single, and I was just like, oh, I don't do the things that you do. Or
Yeah, so
talk
you're going to
about
hang out with the
things.
couple friends, but they're all in
It
couples,
was-
and they like, you know.
So you got to pay attention to how you're feeling
Mhm.
about all of what is going on, because like we can, a lot of it is masked by anger, a lot of it is masked by frustration, agitation, like all of those negative emotions that we see people have. That's where that's coming from, and you ask like, oh, why are you so agitated? They're like, I don't know, I'm just frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're just not willing to accept what is happening.
Yeah.
Something I've heard is that, frustration, anger, it's a tragic expression of an unmet need.
Exactly. Say it again.
Right now?
No, you don't have to. But like that's the realest thing I've ever like read recently.
Mhm.
I'm like, that's so real.
Yeah.
It's like if it say like for example you don't get heard, like someone doesn't hear you.
Yeah.
How
That's
do you
frustrating.
respond? That's frustrating. And you gotta
Mhm.
repeat yourself, and then you gotta, convince them that that's
Yeah.
really how you feel, because they're like, well, no, that's not what happened. But you also have to. There's accountability in that too.
Yeah.
Right. Of like you and your response. Like you shouldn't be responding in that way if you're looking for someone to hear you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's.
I feel like we're in Jasmine's like couple counseling.
Listen,
know?
I need to
Really.
write a book because I did it the hard way, and I'm glad I'm still married.
Yeah.
But no, it's real. I've learned a lot these past 2 years of just everything, and it's hard too because like I'm also a survivor, so then there's all the baggage, and baggage isn't negative, right? But all the baggage that you're carrying all that stuff with you. And sometimes you don't even know what you're carrying some of the time
Until it
something
just
happens.
It shows
Pops
up
open.
in life, yeah.
And you're like, oh my god, where was that?
The buckle breaks.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's
I was thinking a
wild.
briefcase, but okay.
That too, whatever holds it together. It could be a stitch, it could be tape, it could be whatever, and then it just caves in, just like crack, like freaking Titanic. I don't know if the Titanic
You
references
have been on a Titanic
all
reference,
day.
okay?
I have not watched it in so long, but tangent. Is there any other things
I don't
before we wrap
I think
up?
so. We really
No, we really went on.
Deep, y'all.
we
Yeah.
really emptied
So
the
many
pond.
tangents.
Do you get it? Because they're catfish in a pond.
Ah, good one, good one.
Thank you. I had
Awesome.
to really pull it out. So thank you for listening to us talk about catfish. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk to other people about it.
Yes.
But so what is coming in the next while of Green Dot in our lives? I mentioned it last week, but we have student bystander trainings. We have 2 coming up. We have one on February 23rd, and that is all like on a Saturday from 9 to 2. And then we also have one, it's the same amount of time, but it's split over 2 days, March 6th and 7th. If that's something you're interested, just go to the ISU Green Dot website or find any of our social medias, and you'll find a link to where to sign up for those trainings. I will be at all of them, so I would love to see you there.
Awesome. And then we have an upcoming booster session.
Mm-hmm.
Want to talk more about that?
Yeah, so we have an upcoming booster session. Booster sessions are times where we can have just conversations and dialogue about different things that matter to the Green Dot conversation. So the upcoming session is called Unpacking a Queer Vision of Love. And what we're it's going to be a conversation around sexuality, gender, relationships. So kind of similar to what we were talking about here, but really looking at how queer relationships fit into our society and how we can have conversations about them, and how if you are in the LGBTQIA plus community, what it means to be in a relationship.
Yep, perfect, awesome. Like us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at ISU Green Dot, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Yay!
Yay!
Happy
I don't know what we're
Valentine's
talking
Day.
about next week, but bye!